Hi, and welcome to my office. Greetings. If you don't know who I am, my name is Robin. I am a video editor and an animator, and it's a little bit weird to introduce myself like this. I thought I'm switching up the content a little bit. If this is the first video you do see of mine, please don't judge me too harshly. There are better videos. There are videos on this channel. I thought I'd talk a lot about the computer I use for work and for streaming and what I use and why I use it the way I use it. So this is going to be a very technical talk type of video. I will put a list of everything in the description below. So if you want the specific names and numbers, I don't know all the numbers and names off the top of my head, all the serial, or well, not serial numbers, but the numbers. There's so many numbers, I can't know all the numbers. So I'll go through all of the stuff that I have, starting with my main computer, which is an Origin computer. It's the first computer that I've ever owned that I didn't build myself. That's the one down there, right in the corner, right over there. It is an Origin computer. It has an i9-99K 8-core processor at 3.7 gigahertz, but it's overclocked to 4. So it does, when it needs to kick up, it has some horsepower. It's a great processor for rendering out video and exporting stuff like that through Premiere, which is what I do on usually near daily basis. So that's a great processor, a great powerhouse for that. On top of that, it has 64 gigabytes of RAM, which is enough for me. I could probably upgrade to a 128, but I don't think I actually would benefit that much from it. So it's sufficient. It has an Nvidia RTX 2080 Ti with 11 gigabytes of VRAM, which is pretty much the most expensive part of the entire computer. If you know graphics cards, you'll know this about it, but essentially is the best you can get, much like Gillette. So it has that, and then it also has an Elgato HD60 capture card. Now, an HD60 capture card allows me to input the PlayStation, the Switch, the Xbox, whatever I want as an HDMI output into the computer at 60 FPS, 1080 resolution, which is fine for recording or streaming console games. So all of that goes into the main computer, which is the left and the center monitor. The monitors that I use now, the center monitor, they're all Dell. The center monitor is probably 4 years old by now. It's a really old, I bought it specifically because it was a 2560 by 1440 resolution monitor at the time. You can probably tell that it's got some years on its neck, as we'd say in Sweden, where I live and am from. You can tell by the thick border around the monitor that it's not the newest. The two on the sides are the newest ones. They have specific names. I'll put that all in the description below. Now you may notice that there are 3 monitors. The rightmost one is hooked up to the streaming computer, the secondary computer. This is my old main computer, and it's still okay, but it's not amazing. It's got an i7 8-core processor of 4700K, so it's not the most amazing anymore. It was good at the time, it was sufficient it was okay at the time. It's not that great anymore. It can handle the streaming just fine. It also has a GTX 1080, just a normal 1080, which was the best I could get at the time. So that'll sort of date that computer a little bit, I suppose. It has 32 gigabytes of RAM, and both computers have a 500 gigabyte SSD drive to boot, and 2 additional mechanical drives of 2 terabytes each, so 4 per computer of storage. Lastly, that computer also has an Elgato 4K capture card because I'm inputting my main computer over to the streaming computer as a whole package. The whole desktop, the whole main screen gets cloned over to that computer for streaming. This enables me to stream off of that computer, and OBS, which does require a little bit of horsepower, it usually utilizes about 10% of my CPU, along with some GPU power, just to run the stream. It takes that load off of the main computer, so games will not be hindered or encumbered by the fact that I'm recording or streaming. Even if I were to blue screen or freeze or crash or restart my computer, the stream will keep on going and nothing will interrupt that. Well, unless that computer takes a poop. So that's the reason for this dual setup, just to ensure that the games aren't compromised by the fact that I'm streaming or recording. I'm not a gamer who plays competitive Overwatch, Battlegrounds, whatever, what have you. I don't play games where I need the frames the most of the all. I like to show off the visuals. I'm a visual guy. I'm an editor. I'm an animator. I'm a 3D artist. I like when things look pretty, and I prefer to prioritize looking pretty over 120 frames per second. As long as I can, you know, sort of hit 60 solid, I'm good. So that's the reason for the setup. One computer is running all of the games or all of the whatever work I'm doing. The other computer is running the stream. The reason for the screens vertically like that is because, well, I didn't have, I don't have a big desk. It wouldn't work. I can't. A lot of people seem confused about the vertical monitor. I mean, it's just a normal screen, but you turn it on its side. You can do that with, you can do it in Windows, like you flip your desktop. If you've ever seen like a storefront or like a restaurant with a digital menu in the window, that's just a TV on its side. You just flip it in Windows. You just rotate. You can put it upside down if you want. So those are the main two computers. Now, when it comes to the tertiary little stuff, bits and bobs, I have an HyperX Alloy FPS cherry red switches keyboard, which is a mechanical keyboard that has a nice clickety-clackety feel without making too much of a clickety-clackety rackety. I also have two Logitech G9x Mice. Now, these mice do not exist anymore, unfortunately. I've had them for probably 6 or 7 years now, and they've never caused an issue. When I bought them, I got them just as they were going out of stock, so it was essentially like a clearance, and they had 2 left in the entire store. I bought both of them at half price because they were going out, and I've never seen a more versatile and resilient and great all-around mouse. It has all the things I need. It has a DPI switch, it has a removable cover, it has weights in the back that you can customize the weight feel of the mouse itself, and it has 2 buttons on the side for, you know, back and forth in browsing file structure or melee in games. So that's all the general computer stuff. Now let's move on to the stuff that is a little bit more streaming aspect of the whole thing, because there are a couple of bits and bobs that do specifically pertain to recording and or streaming primarily video game content. So I'll talk about that now. So the primary things, I guess, is the big microphone, which is on the arm over here. There's that. There's the arm itself. I'll talk about what they are. I'm just gonna go through them. I'm not gonna leave it at that. That's it, bye. Then I have 2 Elgato Stream Decks, which is overkill, and I will tell you why I have that. And then I have a GoXLR as the audio interface, which is a recent switch of mine. I've had it for a while. I went off it for a while because it just was weird. And then there's a camera on top. It's not a webcam, it's a real it's a cheap real camera that goes into a Elgato Cam-Link in the back of the streaming computer. And then there's an LED panel, a LED Go LED panel up top. So those are all the various bits and bobs that I use when I stream my video games on Twitch. Twitch.com/pixel_pit. I probably shouldn't cover the mic when I whisper. I should do this so that it goes, because the mic is on my... Anyway, oh, and as far as headphones go, I do tend to flip-flop a little bit. I did use the Fidelio X2s for a while. They are great open back headphones. I currently use the Sony WHX1002, the best name in the world. I'll put a thing in the description for headphones. It sucks. I mean, the names of all of these things are horrible. Just make them, just call them Headphones 1, 2, Sony Headphones 4. I can buy that. Just give me that. Microphone 1, Microphone 2 even. Just stop with all of the W, it's a whole serial number for the official product. Like this, okay, like this mixer audio interface. Yamaha Mg 10XU. Just call it the Yamaha 4. Anyway, so the microphone that I'm using, not currently, but for recording and streaming, is a Warm Audio WA47 microphone. And it is way too expensive for what I need it for. This is one of those purchases, you know when you buy something and then you're like, shouldn't have bought that, should not have bought that. I don't necessarily regret buying it. It is a really good microphone, but it's way more than I need. The only reason I got this microphone was because I was watching Smooth McGroove, hands down the best audio quality of any streamer I've ever seen, and he had that microphone. I'll buy that microphone. Now, if you don't know much about microphones, they are very much dependent on your room setup, your voice. Every microphone or any microphone works well or less well with different types of voices and for different purposes. I'm recording it, I'm trying to stream it, and it's not perfect, but I think that the current setup that I have now is at least the best that my streaming audio has ever sounded. So I'm not disappointed with it. However, before I had that microphone, I used to use the SE Electronics X1 and then the X1S, which this is. And I mean, just look at the size comparison between this microphone and that microphone. I mean, look at how big it is. Yeah, it looks nice, sure, but look at how big it is compared to the old one. It's like double the size almost. This is obnoxiously humongous, isn't it? It's nice, but it's so big. It's hard to fit under your chin, let me tell you that. This one was great. This one is great for its size and for its cost. This microphone is about $100. If you buy the whole kit, you get like a mount and a pop filter. Point is, this is a decent mic for its price. If you're looking to switch over from USB microphones to XLR, this is decent. Totally recommended. Had it for years and years. Perfectly fine. It needs some work, it needs some EQ, but all mics do. Good purchase. So that's the big microphone. Now I do also have another setup for VR, and if you've watched some of the streams, you might have seen me use these. This is essentially a little bit of a TED Talk headset. You've probably seen people use similar things for giving presentations or maybe at work. You basically just sort of pop this bad boy on and you're ready to go for VR purposes. The reason I bought this is because it's wireless. So you just slip some batteries into this and slip this into your pocket, and it connects to a wireless receiver that is currently underneath my desk. Yes, I know, the cable management isn't great. I used to have it better, but I had to undo everything when I plugged in the new monitors. For what this is, it's perfectly fine. The reason I prefer using this, it's an LD Systems kit. The reason I prefer using this over a lavalier mic, which is what I'm currently using right now, is because I stream or play primarily Beat Saber when it comes to VR, and there's a lot of moving around. There's a lot of potential for rustling your mic, like I just probably obnoxiously did, to prove a point. So I would prefer not having the mic attached to fabric that can flop around. I'd rather mount it to my face. Not saying you need to do this. This is perfectly fine if this is all you got, and I would recommend a headset. I used to use an old Turtle Beach headset that has, the normal built-in mic, which was not great, but better than, trying to record from my computer and just talk really loud so that it would reach the, that doesn't sound too great. So I think for VR, anything you can mount to your face in any position, try it. So that is the mic. Now, the mic is going into a GoXLR. The GoXLR was fun when it first came out. I think I've had it for a year and a half or so. I used to use this one. I used to use this little thing, which was fantastic. It has all of the knobs that I need. It has some equalizer. It has a compressor built into it so that you can change the low ends and high ends of your audio. This was really, really useful. This is a Behringer Xenix Q502 USB, again with the naming schemes. Fantastic, just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Behringer? It's pretty good though, until it crapped out. I think because it's independently powered through the power outlet. I don't know, maybe it's made for UK power standards, or maybe it's just cheap. It is. It's plastic. It is cheap. It's very cheap. It was surprisingly good for how cheap it was, and it did last me for maybe a year, and then it just sort of burned out. Now, if I plug a microphone into it, it just sounds like no no matter what. Then, for a good while, I did also use this, which is the Yamaha Mg10XU. The U stands for USB. It's a USB port in the back. Otherwise, you can't really hook it up to a computer. So the U is important. The X stands for effects, which is what you see on the side here. Now, it wasn't necessarily the most easy to use for streaming, because you see this list of effects right here. This is essentially what you have to choose from. And you have to twist this knob 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to switch between the effects in this list. And it makes it kind of hard to quite easily just pop between the effects on a whim like that. Other than that though, it is pretty good. I really love the fact that it had multiple inputs. It looks a lot more complicated than it is, and that's because it's way much more than you would ever need. Essentially, all of these lines of knobs are repeated per input. So you can see there's 4 XLR inputs and then there's additional line inputs. I never used any of this. I only ever used the first 2 rows. And you have, you have your equalizer, you have a compressor, you have the gain, you have the panning, you have the volume. And the benefit of this was that I could hook up my big microphone to the first one and the small microphone, the one that I just showed you, the headset microphone, to the second one, and have different settings for either mic. So if you have multiple microphones for some reason that you need to use, one of these, fantastic to use for sure. Do not regret buying it, but a little bit too complicated for on-the-fly streaming. On top of that, for streaming stuff, I also use the Elgato Stream Deck. So I do have the Elgato Stream Deck XL currently hooked up to my streaming computer. I did have the original one before, which is why that one is now hooked up to my main computer. It's mainly acting as a lazy mode for opening folders or programs without having to have a bunch of icons on my desktop. So I can just push a button on the Stream Deck and it does nothing related to streaming, but it does open up a folder. So I don't have to manually go there. It's lazy, but rather than just putting it in a box somewhere, why not use it? If you don't know what the Streaming Deck does, it's essentially a shortcut mode for your stream. You can switch between scenes and cameras, or turn the game on and off, turn the mic on and off. You can play audio effects, which is, I think, probably what most people use it for. If you've seen a stream that plays a sound effect or a specific song at a specific time, it's usually a Stream Deck. You just hit a button and it plays an audio clip. They have a small one with 6 buttons, which is adorable. They have the medium one, the normal one, and then they have the XL one. So there's a wide variety of options. And they work with Elgato's lights, which I don't have. Hey Elgato, what's up? I have 2 capture cards, 1 Cam-Link, the green screen, 2 Stream Decks. You want to send me one of your lights? I would love to have an Elgato light. Actually, I would love to have 2 Elgato key lights. They look dope, but they are so expensive, and I do not want to pay that much money for them. Which is why I have the LED Go light source above my face. Now, this is the most MacGyver setup ever because the arm it's sitting on is a microphone stand. You couldn't mount a light onto a microphone stand, so I was thinking, what do I do? Well, the light source is essentially a big flat thing. What else is a big flat thing? Well, an iPad. The microphone arm is holding an iPad stand, and the iPad stand is awkwardly grasping onto the sides of the light source so that I could position it above the screen, above my face, at an angle that I would find desirable. It's the best investment I've ever had in terms of making the streaming setup look better, because having a good light source, a soft, good light source, somewhere close to your like at an angle off of your face, facing the camera, makes all the difference in making your face look better. I mean, there's only so much light sources can do. Look at, I don't have that much to work with, honestly, but I do what I can. So that's that. It has a dimmer function, but that's about it. No RGB. The lights on the sides, however, and 2 of the lights in the ceiling are all Hue lights, Philips Hue, and they are set to different profiles for different color profiles depending on my mood and the game. If I have a game that has a different color tone. I usually set the lights to be a little bit more daylighty so that I fit in the game better. Honestly though, the one thing that I really would love to add to this setup is a light on the floor right there, right behind me to the side. I wanna highlight my back a little bit, my side a little bit, which is where I would love to put a key light. Elgato, alternatively, and I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot with this one. There is a Philips Hue light that is essentially like a lump. It's like a lump on the floor with a big rod that goes, it's like a lightsaber essentially. You put a lightsaber on the floor, it's a big rod that emits light. I would love to have one of those right there. They are expensive though, so I feel like I don't need that. But I want to buy it. My buying fingers are itchy. There's a couple of bits and bobs. There's the camera on top, which is a Fuji X-T20. It's a mid-range photo, video, film, you know, like this camera. This is not that camera. This is a Canon EOS RP, but that one, it's not the greatest, but it has a very flat pancake lens that has a very wide angle and a low aperture, so it lets in a lot of light, so it looks decent in the low-ish light that I have for my streaming. I don't want giant lights blaring down on me when I'm playing games. I would rather have it look a little bit darker because it just sort of ruins the mood of the game. I also have the blue microphone arm. I used to have the Rode, which is probably the one that most people have. If you see someone's mic arm and it has a circular like connector where the mic goes in with a metallic dot in the middle for movement, that is the Rode arm. Most people use it, it's fine, I used it for a while. Tends to start squeaking a lot. It gets real squeaky, real fast, all of the time. This one does not. This one is amazing. Oh, and another benefit to this blue mic stand is that it has these knobs on the side, so you can tighten and harden and loosen the thing as you see fit for your mic and setup. It's great. The GoXLR I have set up thusly. The first slider is the microphone, so this just turns my mic up or down. I can go hello, 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 and fade myself into the stream. The second one is my headphones. So no matter what's going on the stream, I can turn down the volume in the headphones just for myself and not affect the rest of the stream. Then there's a slider for Spotify. This just turns down the music that the stream can hear independently of the game or anything else, just so that I can control that a little bit as I choose. Then I have the system sounds, which is notifications, if I think that the text-to-speech is too loud or stuff like that, I can control on the last switch. So those are really useful and really easy to use. Over on the other side is the effects. So these are all the effects that I tend to use during the stream. There's the robotic sound, there's the echo, there's the flight leader captain speaking voice, captain's voice, there's the high pitch, there's the auto-tune, and then there's the low pitch, which is the Mufasa voice. That's my favorite. So those are my presets for the voices that I can use. To turn them on, you have to hit this switch, and then that turns the effect on. To turn it off, you hit it again. This down here is just a sampler so that I can hold down this and record a line, and then just push that button again to repeat that line, or clear it by doing that. Then you have the beep button that just bleeps out whatever you're saying. It cuts off your mic and goes beep instead. And then you have a mute function. So this is just hold that down, there's no mic at all. That's a quick rundown of the GoXLR and why it's pretty useful for a streaming setup. Not sponsored by any of this, by the way. Nothing here is sponsored. This is not me shouting out any company or product over another. I'm just saying, this is what I use, and it works for me, for the most part. I also have a Wacom tablet. It's a Wacom Intuos Pro Medium. It's fine, I've had it for many years. It's what I've drawn all of my faces for all of my animations. All of the lips, faces, eyes, everything, I did on that. So it's been around for ages and ages, and it's great. I love it. I love the feel of it. I love the size of it. I love the usability of it. It's fine. It's great. I love it. Perfect. Thank you, Wacom, for letting me buy one. Oh yeah, and there's also the Valve Index, which is what I use for VR video games, which means essentially Beat Saber. This is my Beat Saber machine. I did also, somewhat cleverly, if I might say so myself, attach an LED strip to the bottom of the green screen so that it doesn't get all dark at the bottom. It actually surprisingly works surprisingly well. But I think that's about it. that's probably all of the interesting stuff that I use on a pretty much daily basis. So hopefully that was a little bit enlightening. I thought that this was gonna be a quick and easy little like, oh, check out my stuff. But turns out I have more stuff, so this took a little bit longer than I thought. And I did want to be thorough if you do want to know these things. So hopefully you found this sort of interesting and sort of illuminating. Hopefully it made sense. I don't know if all of the numbers I said are proper. There's a list if you want to know more. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you around for some other videos in the future. Do the YouTube thing, you know, and see you on Twitch for games? Okay, that's about it. Goodbye.